In this edition of Fix the Flick, we'll be looking at 2012's The Bourne Legacy. This movie had a lot of great things going for it. Jeremy Renner gave an interestingly layered performance, and Rachel Weisz occupies just as much screen presence, even though it would be very easy for her character to fade into Renner's shadow. It was also an opportunity to explore Bourne's bigger world without Bourne himself. Unfortunately, this spin-off strayed too far from the source material that it so heavily relied on. The previous Bourne movies were fast, kinetic, and streamlined. The Bourne Legacy was too long, too wordy, and too clever by half. Because of this drastic change, what was meant to be a puzzle for the audience to solve felt disjointed and uninteresting. Legacy should have expanded the world of Bourne without abandoning its origins, and that could have been accomplished by telling a familiar story from a different point of view, instead of telling a completely different kind of story. So, with that in mind, let's try to fix the Bourne Legacy. Jason Bourne was a fairly likable character. He did all he could to protect Marie. He acted like a nice guy. So, we rooted for him to succeed despite not knowing anything about him. Aaron Cross was sarcastic with his fellow outcome agent and really pushy with Marta when it came to getting those precious chems.
Dr. Shearing, where are the chems? I need the chems!
He wasn't likable because we didn't know anything about him. So, this version of the movie starts out with Aaron Cross's entrance video for Project Outcome. Seeing this first immediately makes the character of Aaron Cross sympathetic.
Is this a test?
Yes, it is.
If I pass, can I stay here?
Do you want to stay?
Yes, sir.
As well as informs us why those little blue pills are so important. Now the audience has something to be invested in, rather than something to be confused by. But to make a little confusion early on, we cut from this to a fully remastered Cross on assignment stalking a target. Throughout the scene, we get a lot of the thinking on your feet moments that were so cool in the previous films. But when it finally comes down to it, Cross doesn't kill his target. He captures him in order to get necessary information. Unfortunately, Aaron is soon chewed out by his handler because he didn't follow mission parameters. He did it because he thought that the mission was better served with an interrogation rather than a killing. Again, we're given something to make the main character sympathetic. However, he sends Cross to the cabin in the mountains as a form of punishment. This lets the audience know exactly where Aaron's superiors stand morally and their feelings on independent thought. We see that Cross is chafing under the control of the amoral Project Outcome. Meanwhile, the Bourne fallout is really causing problems for all those involved. And in this version, that means the characters we've already met. Legacy spat out new character after new character until eventually it was hard to care about who anyone was. So, Ezra Kramer, who we know from the previous movie, goes to his friend, retired Colonel Rick Byer, to separate the Outcome Project from the scandal. There's no evil drug company, no bromance YouTube video, just some shady outsider insulating Project Outcome from public view. And of course, insulating means killing everybody involved with the project. While all that's going on, Aaron makes his way to the cabin, and the scenes there play out pretty much the same. Except now we know why he wants a fix so badly. In the released film, the conversation between Cross and Oscar Isaac made no sense without the knowledge of why it was happening. This was one of those areas that was supposed to be interesting because of how vague it was, but instead it just came off as confusing and unnecessary. The decision is made to take them out and the drone attacks. What follows in this version is the beloved Bourne movie evade and escape scene. Aaron outmaneuvers the drone until he can shoot it down with the rifle.
So can I get your last confirmed? How was that?
He then cuts out the tracker and destroys it as fast as he can. You know, instead of taking the time to set up a snare, trick a wolf into the trap, force feed the tracker to the wolf, and get away fast enough to survive the explosion. And now, with his implant simply destroyed, the CIA knows that Cross is still alive, so he actually has some challenges when he makes his next move. And the biggest of those challenges is back in DC. Knowing that Cross is still alive, Bayer wants to know what he's going up against. So he studies the outcome program and everything they were doing. The original movie threw a lot of science at the audience pretty quick, and Edward Norton never really had much to do. In this version, Bayer goes to the research facility and prepares to track Cross on the ground. This shows the audience the science rather than telling us about it. And it makes Edward Norton's character a more active participant in the story. With Bayer cleaning house, we cut to Marta's lab. We see her discussing the patients she's seen recently. While her boss is being very laid back about the ethics of their work, Marta is shown to be uncomfortable with her role in the project. This way, when she's confronted with Aaron trying to break free of his meds, she jumps at the chance to help. Her moral questions are halted, however, when her coworker starts shooting up the place. The scene goes the same way the original did, with Marta as the only survivor. Shortly after, Aaron arrives in town and reads about Marta and the shooting. This allows him to figure out what's happening and that he needs Marta's help to survive. Bayer finishes his workup on Cross and realizes that contacting Marta is likely Aaron's next move. Bayer says that if he can make it look like Cross killed Marta, he can kill two birds with one stone. So he gets a team together and heads for Marta's house. Marta's at home getting ready to go to her sister's when Aaron shows up first and warns her that she's in danger. Again, this endears us to his character more because he's not a junkie looking for a fix. Instead, he's there to save a life. At first, she doesn't believe him. That is until Bayer's guys show up and start shooting. Aaron takes them all out, all while keeping Marta safe. And they escape, leaving Bayer to discover the burning house. During their getaway, Aaron explains to Marta about the program being torched. She's the one who suggests the idea about going public and mentions her ties to the media. Aaron says they can't go forward with just their word. They would need proof, and Aaron says that he needs the meds to get it. With the scene going this way, he doesn't come off like a demanding jerk, and she doesn't come off like a hysterical ditz. Marta then offers the idea of viraling off his pills. And Aaron is elated when he hears this, because he finally has a way to get free and clear of the program that he no longer agrees with. And Marta is happy to atone for her role in all of the horrible things the program is responsible for. So they go to Manila, get the cultures, and begin to viral Aaron off of his meds. In his delirium, Aaron flashes back to his life before the Outcome Project. We see that, because of his low intelligence, he jumped at the chance to participate in the project. But we quickly see that he had to give up everything in exchange. This shows us why he wanted to be free of the meds so badly. Bayer, still tracking Cross, figures out that his only hope is to head to Manila and free himself of his medications. So Bayer decides to activate the Larks soldier and send him after Cross and Marta. Larks follows Bayer's tips and tracks them to their safe house. Then we see the same motorcycle chase from the original version. Except that Aaron is the one who takes Larks out using his new brain power. At this point, fearing for Marta's safety, Cross gets her back to the U.S. and sends her to Pamela Landy. He instructs her to tell Landy that they're getting information for her Senate hearing. Then Aaron goes after evidence on Project Outcome. Back at the research facility, Bayer is trying to figure out if Aaron will just disappear or if he continues to be a threat. Before he can determine this, alarms indicate that the facility's records vault is being broken into. Convinced it's Cross, Byer gets a SWAT team together and goes to stop him. But when they finally get into the vault, there's no one there. Suddenly, one of the SWAT guys begins taking out the rest of the team, and Byer realizes that Aaron couldn't have gotten into the vault without his help. Aaron confronts Byer about the illegal activities of Project Outcome, and that's when we get the Sin Eater's speech.
We are the Sin Eaters. It means that we take the moral excrement that we find in this equation and we bury it down deep inside of us so that the rest of our cause can stay pure. That is the job.
Cross says not anymore and sends the incriminating files to Landy for her use at the hearing. As Aaron is leaving, Byer asks if he really thinks he can get clear of everything that's happened. Aaron tells Byer that he should worry about himself. Sometime later, Aaron is in a cafe watching the news. He smiles when he sees that Pamela and Marta have testified. With all of the corrupt CIA programs exposed, Aaron and Marta are finally safe and free. So, that's how I would fix 2012's The Bourne Legacy. Are there any movies that you think are in need of repair? If so, email me at the link down below or post a comment. And remember to click like and subscribe if you want to see more movies get fixed. Until next time, I'm Mr. Fix-It for Fix the Flick.